All right, so our quadratic graph is this U-shaped graph here. It's the red graph. This is our parabola. So the two little points, these arrows are pointing to two little points. I want you guys to use your pencil, and I want you to put a little point right here and right here. So these are the x-intercepts. So we're going to label in this box over here x-intercepts. So the x-intercepts are the points where the graph crosses the x-axis. So we're going to write the definition, and then we're going to write the answer to whatever the x-intercepts are. So since they're points, we need to write our answer as a coordinate. So on the graph, this is over 1, 2, so the x value of the coordinate is -2, and then since it's right on the x-axis, the y value is 0. So all of our x-intercepts, we write it as the coordinate, the x value, and then the y value is always 0. So this one we can see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. So anytime we write our x-intercepts, we write it as a coordinate x, y. So the only other thing that you guys need to know about x-intercepts is it has a couple of other names. So we can also refer to an x-intercept as a solution. We can also refer to an x-intercept as a 0 because it's on 0. And it's also called the root of the graph. So those are the different ways that you can say what the x-intercept is. The next little arrow is pointing right here. We'll go ahead and put our point right here. So this is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So instead of being an x-intercept, this is now your y-intercept, which it has the same definition, except it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. We also write our coordinate the same way. So we write it x, y. This time you put your y value, whatever the number is, and your x value is 1. So, or sorry, 0. So it's going to be 0, and then we can see that it goes down to -12. So our x and y intercepts are written as coordinates. So the next point right here has 2 arrows coming off of it. So we're going to start with this box down here. This point has 2 different names. The first name that point has is a minimum. So a minimum is the point that is the lowest point on the graph. So a minimum value is the lowest point on the graph. Now we can also call that minimum value a vertex. The vertex is either the highest or lowest point on the graph. So the vertex can be a minimum, which we can see that that minimum value right here is the lowest point on that graph. So we write that minimum value as a coordinate. So that's the coordinate over 3 down 16. So we write 3, -16, which is the vertex of the first graph. So do you guys see how the vertex is pointing to this graph and it's pointing to this graph? So this point on this graph is also the vertex, but it's the highest point on the graph. So we would also give this another name. Since it's the highest point on the graph, this one is considered a maximum. So a vertex can be either one. It can be a maximum if it's the highest point, or it can be a minimum if it's the lowest point. So you just need to determine, is it the highest point or lowest point? It can still be one or the other. We write the maximum as a coordinate. So this is the coordinate negative, let's see, -1, 16. So we write it as the coordinate. So we go left 1 and up 16, and that's where the coordinate of my vertex or my maximum value is. All right, so now we're looking at this one. So this box is pointed to this dotted line. So this dotted line right here is the line that cuts the graph exactly in half. And that's called the axis of symmetry. Symmetry meaning it's the same on both sides. So the axis of symmetry is the line, the vertical line that cuts the graph exactly in half. So we write the axis of symmetry as x equals whatever the number that it goes through. So we can see that it goes through the number -1. This is the number -1 that it crosses on the x-axis. I'll also give you a little hint. The axis of symmetry is the x value of whatever the vertex is. So if you know what the vertex is, just take the x value of that, and that's going to be your axis of symmetry. So I'm going to write that little note down here. The axis of symmetry is x equals the x value of the vertex. So that's actually super helpful to remember. If you know what the vertex is, all you got to do is find the x value of the vertex, and that's your axis of symmetry.